Alright, Omnimon, let's go Omnimon! This is how you get Omnimon, right?
What the fuck is that?
Hey, remember when they released Spyro 1? You know, the 3D platformer? And then when they made a sequel, they made it a tactics game? You don't? Well, that's because that would have been fucking stupid! Remember when Halo made an RTS? Yeah, I loved Halo 4! Better fire up the Wiimotes, just got my hands on Rayman 6! Okay, hold on, let's back up. Digimon started as a V-Pet, a boy's equivalent of the Tamagotchi, which was more popular with girls. Nobody told me! But then they made it into a video game with Digimon World. They retained the V-Pet aspects while adding a story and some deeper gameplay that you can really sink into easier. If you're new, I made a whole video on it. But a year later, they decided to follow it up with Digimon World 2. Makes sense, right? First game did well, so a sequel is sure to follow. Take what you learned from the first game and refine it, add some tweaks, maybe add a couple more monsters, and what do you mean it's a dungeon crawler? They removed all the V-Pet aspects. You have 3 Digimon instead of 1, they don't die of old age, you can actually control them in battle, you can't even shit on the floor anymore, what's the point? So Digimon World 2 is a sequel, in the same way birds are the sequel to dinosaurs. Like, we know they are, and if you look really close you can kinda see it, but overall you're like, what the piss happened? The game takes place after the events of the first game, on a brand new continent, Directory Continent. In Digital City on Directory Continent, there exists 3 guard teams, tasked to protect the peace, and conveniently enough, wild Digimon have started acting wild and attacking the city, so you join one of the 3 teams of your choice. The team you choose essentially picks your starter Digimon, either Agumon who's Vaccine, Patamon for Data, or the virus-type Demi-Devimon. Odd picks, but Digimon types are important in this one, but almost right after you pick your team, the evil Blood Knights show up, an evil team of Digimon tamers. They do have an ultimate goal, but it's drip-fed to you throughout the game. Like, I didn't hear the big bad's name get used until I was 80 hours into the game. I'll do a spoiler section later. Game's 21 years old, but somebody's gonna be mad, you know? The game starts off in a training mission. They throw you in a short dungeon with a rental team to show you the ropes, and right off the bat, shit is wildly different. Not apples and oranges, we're talking ashtrays and assholes. This entry is a 3v3 dungeon crawler. The majority of your time playing will be in your Digi-beetle, a 6-wheeled combat vehicle that may or may not be sentient, that carries you, your Digimon, and has upgradable components like guns that heal you. Battles take place when you run into a wild Digimon, even if they're on the other side of a friggin' wall.
Where I can see.
There, diagonally.
The first Digimon World had 65 Digimon, encompassing the first 6 V-Pets, except for 5 for some reason. Which, like, come on guys, you missed the best one. Digimon World 2 has 200 Digimon, and brings us all our favorite Digimon from Adventure Zero 2, like Vmon and... Battles are 3v3 and play out like a traditional RPG, with attacks and buffs and stats and items. Your stat spread is way simpler this time around. Gone are the intelligence, happiness, discipline, weight, and virus meters. We're left with HP, MP, attack, defense, and speed. And this new stat, DP, or Digivolving Points. They dictate what your Digimon might Digivolve into. They don't affect combat or stats at all, so I'll revisit it. Moves are split up into attacks, counters, interrupts, and assists. Attacks are... What do you fucking think attacks are? They're attacks. They do damage. Most are just that. Some poison, or paralyze or confuse, or they're AoE. There's some variety. Counters move last in the initiative, and if your Digimon is hit, it'll go off with additional effects. Like Buffalo Breath is a regular attack, but if it gets triggered as a counter, it'll confuse your foe. And confusion is, woof. Interrupts are the hard counter to counters. They hold your move until your opponent goes to move, and then you can interrupt them. Go figure. You'll pull off your attack right before they do. They still make their move afterwards, but it doesn't trigger counters, and it can really fork over their move. Like, a Hornbuster cuts the damage of the following move by a ton, or Chrono Breaker will move your initiative to last for the round. And then we have assists. They aren't complex, that's where your heals and buffs are. Or total BS, like invisibility, that just makes your Digimon unable to be targeted for a couple turns. And FYI, poison increases damage taken, paralysis lowers your accuracy, and confusion exclusively has you using random moves against only you and your allies. And it can last forever! Like, there isn't a chance it hits your allies. It's 100%. I have never not attacked myself while confused. Your Digimon, as with most creature collectors, have types, but here they potentially have two? Every Digimon is either Vaccine, Data, or Virus. Vaccine is good against Virus, Virus is good against Data, and Data is good against Vaccine. But then on top of that, there's elements, which are super effective in this order: Water, Fire, Nature, Mech, and Darkness. Not every Digimon has an element, but most do. But on top of that, there are colored carpets and domains that give you a specific elemental buff, so if the stars fucking align, you can really hole punch some of these dudes. Every attack uses MP, and MP doesn't recover over time. So what do you do when you're out? Well, I mean, you could bring healing items, or you can guard. Nowhere does it explain this, but guarding not only reduces damage taken, but it also regains 10% of your max MP. So you can really cheese it out by guard spamming. Like last floor of a dungeon, right before the boss, you can pull this shit in any rando battle. Makes MP heals entirely irrelevant and baby modes the game. Or it would if the main thing that'll be blocking you wasn't the domains themselves. The dungeons in the game are referred to as domains, and there's not much to write about at a glance. You crawl those dungeons, Grundle 2. Rooms, corridors, enemies, exits to the next floor, rinse and repeat until you fight a boss. Simple, classic dungeon crawler stuff. Except everything from the wildlife to the walls around you wants you dead and the hell out of there. I've never had my poop pushed in so far by a carpet before. Mines, bugs, walls, electro-spores, acid carpets, and trapped chests. Mines hurt you or your Digimon and can destroy components to your Digi-beetle, like the ability to see.
Great.
Trap chests are just mines, but they dangle a bit of fruit in front of you first. Walls. Electro-spores are like walls, but they hurt you, and like to be invisible. Acid floors are the carpet is lava. Good luck parkouring in a jeep. And the worst of them all is the bugs.
This immediately sucks.
Which there are 4 kinds. If this is sounding really overwhelming, it's because it is. Bugs do things like sap your energy, or money, or fill a spot in your party so you can't recruit more Digimon. Or, the most evil fucking thing I've ever dealt with, the return bugs. For every step you take, it will send one of your Digimon home. Maybe just one, maybe all but one. But what the hell am I gonna do 20 floors deep in a dungeon with one Digimon? Yeah, you leave. You pack up and go. These are awful and only serve to overcomplicate and drag out the game. The amount of times I've had to just pack up and restart because I got funneled into a return bug or a mine destroyed my minimap.
Well, I'm leaving.
As you progress through the game, you'll be upgrading your Digi-beetle. Actually, this is the main focus of the game, it seems. Your engine affects how much HP it has, the battery is the EP, which lets you go further without having to return, RAM is how many Digimon you can hold, toolboxes are your inventory space, tire upgrades protect you from acid squares, arms are for disarming landmines, and hands are for disarming booby-trap treasure boxes. Yeah, not confusing at all, guys. Sweeps let you see mines and bug nests. There's the shooter gun, Z cannon, R cannon, missile gun, and bug zapper, which all do different things and count as guns. Shooter gun heals you and launches skis. Missile gun shoots drill missiles to destroy walls and magnetic missiles to destroy electro-spores. The bug zapper does its best, and the Z and R cannons I never used. And your body type dictates how many guns you can hold and how powerful of upgrades you're compatible with. These are locked off to points in the story. And then we have more passive background components like the radar, map radar, autopilot, DM transfer, power radar, and power pilot, which can all be fucked over individually by mines. And is this too much information? Because you've got 140 hours to figure it all out. And if you think the traps are bad, buckle up. Recruiting new Digimon is the most obtuse, unexplained, frustrating thing I've ever had to do in a video game ever. And I played Digimon World 1. In order to recruit a new Digimon, you need to give them gifts before you battle them. See, that's the issue. You can fire gifts to a wild Digimon using your shooter gun, but only at a Digimon in the same room as you. Not in hallways, not from just outside the entrance. And if you're in the same room as a Digimon, they will walk towards you every time you take an action, be it move, interact with something, or projectile Christmas. And one gift is not enough. Gifts come in different potencies, and higher levels will have a greater impact. But the highest level gift you can get for the majority of the game is maybe a C rank gift. And most Digimon take 3 to 4 of those to even give you a small chance. And that can take up to 9 C-rank gifts to get anywhere worthwhile. And if they walk into you, that's it, battle started. You can't throw any more mid-battle. So you've got to cheese it. Find a room with 2 exits and weasel all the way around to the other one when they get close. Or if they're on a carpet that benefits them, they won't leave, but that's pretty rare. Oh, and they can ignore gifts too. You can buy 9 gifts, fill up your whole damn inventory, travel down to the 15th floor of a domain, just to have the Digimon you want ignore 3 of the 9 gifts, only resulting in a medium heart. You fight them, and then they just don't join you. What do? Just go home? You'll be doing that a lot, as you can see. And there are specific gifts for specific types of Digimon too. Woohoo! Vaccine, Data, and Virus Digimon all like different gifts. And the first couple hours of the game, you're hard limited to buying gifts for one of the 3 types. That's in the fine print of choosing your guard team. When I found out how hard it was to recruit Digimon, I thought, okay, that's fine. I already have an Agumon. I only need 2 more cool Digimon, and there's level caps. Your Digimon digivolve into Champion at level 11, Ultimate at level 21, and Mega at 31. And then give you just a taste at the start. Your starter caps at like 13, 14, so you get just enough to play with a champion for a bit before laughing at you. The main way to increase your level caps, and DP comes into this too, is to DNA Digivolve. Merge 2 of your Digimon together. But here's the kicker. In the anime, 2 Digimon would fuse into some super powerful almighty merger of the 2 and wreck shop. In Digimon World 2, they go down a stage, to a stage below the lowest Digimon you used. So you mix 2 ultimates and you get a champion, for example. DNA a Mega and a champion and you'll get a rookie. And you'll be doing this a whole fucking lot. The amount of times I'll jump into a domain and one of my Digimon will hit their level cap or hit high enough level to Digivolve and I just kinda leave. Because of course they don't just Digivolve when you hit the level. You gotta take them to the back room of Denny's and ask the manager if it's okay first. But DNA Digivolving is probably the best part of the game, despite the slog it might be. When you DNA Digivolve, the new Digimon has a higher potential level cap, retains all the moves of its parents, and goes up 1 DP. Every Digimon has a signature move, but all moves get transferred on. So you start off with an Agumon with Pepper Breath, but then you end up with some really funny stuff like a V Headbutt coming out of an Akatorimon or Machinedramon using Tidal Wave. DP influences what your Digimon can evolve into.
Yeah, they spinny.
Almost all Digimon in the game have something of a branching evolution tree. A higher DP will result in evolutions that aren't necessarily stronger, but definitely rarer. For example, a base Agumon would go the traditional route of Greymon, Metal Greymon, and War Greymon, but if it's the result of chaining 9 DNA Digivolutions and having a DP of 9, it would go from Greymon to Skull Greymon and then to Machinedramon. Some Digimon require as high as 20, like Baihumon, Diaboromon, and Omnimon. But don't worry, there are items you can farm for a late game that artificially increase your DP. But I actually had a ton of fun mixing and matching different Digimon to see what I got. Noticing trends like how bugs will almost always DNA into more bugs, even if there's only 3 of them and I got real sick of seeing Kabuterimon. And there are some attacks that are just undoubtedly really friggin' good. Like Akuamon's Duo Scissor Claw, which hits all 3 opponents and lowers their defense. Or Soulmon's Necro Magic, which saps a big chunk of MP from a knocked out Digimon. So because all moves are technically egg moves, you can ultimately work towards really OP movesets and then breed them onto a Digimon you like. Is it a ton of work? Yes. Does it trivialize the whole game? Yes. Did I hit the time cap on the game? Yes. But isn't the end goal of any game to completely mechanically break it? 2 Duo Scissor Claws and some decent AoE damage and most battles are over before the end of turn 2. Add some heals and some utility for good measure and the end boss was cream cheese. Which pushes me to my next point. The game isn't hard at all. I think I blacked out once super early on because I didn't know the repercussions. It kicks you back to the start screen, so don't do that. The only thing standing in your way was the traps, really. The amount of times a dungeon run was cut short by just hitting a wall I couldn't break, or having my party evac'd by a bug. You just kinda accept it and try again. Frustrating and blatantly unfair, but not hard. It's like picking strawberries, but every once in a while a huge dude pops out and hits you with a mallet. You can't beat him, and you never know when he's gonna show up, but fuck do you love strawberries. Okay, spoiler skip. If I've done a good job convincing you to play it, and you really don't want this stuff spoiled for you, I don't think you've been listening very well. But here's the time code anyways. So the story of Digimon World 2 takes place after Digimon World 1, by a long shot. Sometime after the events of the first game, an AI by the name of Gaia went rogue and trapped a bunch of humans in the digital world. They then built the Archive ship to leave File Island, forming a new colony on Directory Continent, where people started taming Digimon. Until Gaia took control of a dude, who ended up being Crimson, made him form an evil team, revolt, lose, and go into hiding for 30 years, waiting for a tamer strong enough to appear. Of course it's you! For them to come out of hiding and lure you to Gaia so that the two of you can merge to become the most powerful organism and take control of both the digital world and the real world. So, you refuse, you kill him, he self-destructs the world, but Estina, a real girl that's important because they said so, manages to go to the real world using some robot and installs a backup of the digital world, and all is good. And then you get post-game stuff. And by post-game, I mean a 99-floor dungeon that I want no part in. There are rumors that Chimeramon has a 1 in 666 chance of showing up in Terra Domain. I even had people tell me straight up that this is the case. But after more research on my part than I'm proud of, it seems that he's only available in the Japanese version by transferring him over from Pocket Digimon World by the PS1 memory card. Which is a big letdown because I friggin' love Chimeramon. But not only is Pocket Digimon World Japan exclusive, but the lady in-game you need to talk to transfer was entirely removed. Feels pretty cut and dry to me, but there's still forum topics about this as recent as 3 years ago. Keep that dream alive, my dudes. You'll get them one day. Do I think the game is good? Good lord, no. But did I only stick with the game because I wanted to make content on it? I ended up just muting most of the game and watching One Piece. It has blatant flaws and really odd choices, but the monsters keep me engaged. It's not a good excuse, but I guess I'm easy. There's a ton of little things that bother me though. Stuff that would be easy to handwave if it wasn't for the sheer amount of them. Like, the game doesn't explain jack shit from the start, and there's a lot of mechanics to figure out. I don't think it mentions anywhere in the game that you can recruit new Digimon, let alone how. Every time you buy items, it defaults to sending them to the server instead of your inventory. The first 4 or so hours of the game, I could only recruit vaccine Digimon. And even after that, I wasn't allowed to DNA with data Digimon for arbitrary fuck you reasons. The dungeons are bland looking, and there's only one battle arena outside the Coliseum. DNA Digivolving late game means bringing an infant into a war zone, and they can only gain 1 level per battle. The entire game is a menu hell. You've got to talk to what's-her-face every time I leave or enter the city. I can't save in town, I can't transfer items outside of town. It feels like everything is put in place to slow you down. Attacks that weaken your damage output is common. Dangerous counter moves are set in place to make sure you're paying attention and not just spamming AoE attacks every turn. Like, the amount of content I played should have been done in like 50 hours, maybe less. But instead I got blue-balled at every turn. I slogged through stuff that should have been way more streamlined, had to learn enough mechanics that they could host a college course on it. Having hard level caps stopping me from sticking with and bonding with a Digimon I really like is simply an incorrect decision. The game does do some really cool things though. The enemy AI can be really smart, even if their move pools are limited. They like to make teams that have some synergy, like a Digimon with friendly fire and one that has a spicy counter move. I can really appreciate that effort. The way the Digimon move in battle is really charming. Look at this dude! As well as listening to their battle cries.
Destruction vanished!
The intro FMV is just as good as the first game. While maybe a third of the Digimon's signature moves are just base damaging moves, the other 2/3 are super unique. From stealing MP from knocked out Digimon, hitting your allies to cure their confusion, moves that transfer your status conditions onto the opponent, stuff that hits harder if your foe is waiting to counter, moves that make you poisonous to the touch, there's a ton of creativity in here. I've never been blown away like this before by attack mechanics. It's a shame it's this unbalanced and exploitable. The music, my dude! Like, I thought the first game had some bangers. This game is all bangers. This leads to something really greater here. Like, if Wild Digimon had even a tiny chance of recruitment without gifts, and they removed return bugs altogether, I could say the game was good. Piss easy, but good. Because I did have a really good time playing it. It takes a real marvel to get me to put more than 50 hours into a game. I was warned when I picked up this game that it was nothing like the first game and wasn't worth my time. There's some merit to that, but it's not a total write-off. People made it seem way worse than it actually is. The DNA Digivolution alone is worth giving it a shot. It's not worth 120 hours, though. I'd say play until you're bored and walk away. It's not like it gets better later. Fun game. I'll never play it again. Yeah, I fucking cheated.